Welcome. It's good to have you joining us today. I've got Tom Clegg with me today. And Tom, we went through your life plan process, I think, at this past October.
Yep, about 90 days ago.
Would you share with our audience what questions you were asking yourself, what prompted you to go through this life plan?
Bet. Well, Matt, thanks for the opportunity to share with the whole wide world what an incredible investment life plan was to me. Here I am in my mid-50s, navigating the way, and trying to sort out what do I want this next chapter of life and ministry to be all about. So I was thinking about direction. I was thinking about, and I was thinking about not so much what can I do, but of all the things I'm doing, what do I need to stop doing and bring greater focus and clarity and kind of cut through the noise that was in my ears about who I am as a person, what I'm doing in my work and vocation, what's my greater contribution to the world and to Christ's kingdom. And so we talked, I think, in late summer, early fall. In fact, I think I had been in an accident, was in the hospital, and I think you came to visit me when we first talked about scheduling me to my life plan, because I know even your decision to start doing this and facilitating this in the lives of people, I had the privilege of walking alongside, but then to have the first conversation about, when do I need to commit and make this investment, and I'm so glad that I did.
So we went through the 2 days together. What were your takeaways?
Oh golly, how long is this podcast? And I'm not exaggerating. I could talk about this all day. The takeaways were great clarity regarding my calling and purpose. And from that, I found great courage to act on some personal issues that I needed to act on and go deeper in my own spiritual formation and character and calling, and the deep sense of ease and poise that comes into the life of a person when they remember, first of all, who they are in Christ and who they've been meant to be and made to be, and what their greater contribution is, and reassessing their priorities and their values. That was just so often just a huge bag full of disorganized stuff, and I seemed to be always helpful in helping everybody else deal with their stuff, and would oftentimes at the expense of ignoring my own. And the life plan gave me the time to work on it, then gave me the tools to keep working on it and walk away with a solid plan. I mean, when you put the life plan binder in my hand, and I was able to go back and read through it and then keep in front of me in my regular planning time. And I open that back sheet, the worksheet, about once a month, and go back, and it's still refining and sharpening. It's helped me in it's helped me in my marriage. My wife says it's really good to have you back, because I think I drifted so far away from my purpose and so far away from who I am. In an effort to try to do good, I was becoming somebody I wasn't, and then saying and doing things I shouldn't, just because I thought I had to. And in fact, that I just really squared off that was a behavior that needed to stop. And so I found the courage to do that.
Okay.
And then I found resources that I'm helping the people around me, and some of the replenishment cycle for when your listening audience, when you sit down with Matt to do your life plan. This is one of the just real eye-opening exercises about what refills your tank. And you look at whether it's hobbies or just time alone or whatever that fills your tank, and well, why don't you do those things? I don't have time. When do you need to be doing those things? When you are the most stressed and the least time. So the decision to get really serious about keeping the tank filling up, and the Bible says, it promises that out of your belly would flow a river. But it also says we have this treasure in earthen vessels. They get cracked and broken. And they either leak out and they're dry, or we keep patching them up all the time, or we keep more coming in than is going out. The discipline of going back to my replenishment cycle of the 4 things that really help me in the last 90 days, I can tell you the quality of my life has improved. The sleep that I'm getting and taking time for myself and reconnecting with the quiet of the outdoors and the wilderness and reconnecting with the kind of art that I enjoy doing and making of music. Wow, I came face to face with how I had abandoned that, and now how reconnecting and following the discipline of being replenished like a Sabbath's rest. I just made it very clear, and the results have been, well, incredible.
And that's interesting. You said you came to a realization that you were living kind of out a person that you weren't. You were not living out your purpose. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing to have that realization, to have that awareness, but what have you done since then with that knowledge?
Well, I resigned from a very secure job and benefits and all that go with it. I have making amends with how that behavior had wounded and hurted people close to me. Not really maliciously, but the results were there, and I needed to square off and take care of that. I went public. I went out of the closet with, this is the way that I'm going to live, and that way is not the way that I'm going to live. And man, where I needed to confess sin, I confessed sin, and where I needed to re-embrace and take up something that I had laid down, I did. And the last 90 days, since the middle of October, I have been through a wonderful, awful, beautiful, messy, God-filled, absolutely crazy revolution of my own heart, my own soul, not long ago, we were sitting in the living room and either watching football or Downton Abbey, I can't remember which. And my wife turned and looked at me, and the way a spouse will, that kind of connection that only comes from that complete acceptance of one another. And she said, "It's good to have you back." And I didn't interrogate her right then, but a day or two later I said, "What did you mean?" And she said, "You're the man I fell in love with, the guy that you were becoming." And she said, I appreciate that you would just work hard and at a task that's not, your strengths or whatever to provide. But it wasn't me. And I was talking with a friend this morning. The thing about all of this is I was increasingly becoming somebody I didn't like being around. I didn't like the person I was becoming. Now, this isn't just a matter of, you don't like your job, so quit it, and now everything is better. It was, I didn't like being the person that I was, that I thought I had to be. I thought I had to be this person who I wasn't. There's a great exercise in the wiring, the one about thinking the 5.
Yeah.
What's that called?
The thinking wavelength.
Yeah, the wavelength exercise.
Yeah.
And all of people think in terms of either they're grinders, minders, keepers, finders, and conceivers. And I scored all the way over to the right on the conceiver, like 8 out of 10 or something like that. I was strong. It was no question. You're over here. And the role that I was in serving at church was a great thing, but it was all the way over to the left. It was all grinder stuff. How I am not wired. And it was just killing me.
Yeah.
And that person that I was then was a guy who came home and would literally fall into his easy chair. No energy for my family. No energy for my spouse. I was just, and and I wasn't taking care of my health, and I wasn't exercising. I wasn't doing a lot of things. I was abandoning the replenishment cycle. And I was resigned to the fact that you're stuck with this. It's a noble, good thing to do. I was resigned to the fact that I really began to feel that God was done with me. And I'm just out here in this desert to fade into the... And, you know, I've had bestsellers out there, wide national platform, and I just thought that was gone. And I wasn't suicidal or anything close, but I can understand why people would think, you know, the Jimmy Stewart Wonderful Life, the world would be better off without me. I feel like I'm not making a contribution. Such happens to your heart and your mind when you are deliberately or otherwise, by force of circumstances and role and that kind of thing, end up deliberately choosing to be somebody you're not. Now, it might be as noble as the day is long. Yeah. It might be dressed up and called ministry. It might be, you know, and people pat you on the hand and say, what a great job you're doing, you know, or whatever. Yet, you know that you know down deep in your knower something isn't right. And the 2 days of sitting down with you and working through those 20 exercises blew the smoke away. And I could have come up, you remember when I showed up, I could have come up with a long list of why I shouldn't be here today. You know, 100 things were competing for my attention. 1,000 things were on fire in crises. So, you know, there's never really a good time. You simply have to make the time. And I'm glad that we put it on the calendar. I'm glad that we could, you know, make it all happen financially and otherwise to come to this giant breakthrough in my life. Now, people that know me know that I'm, you know, I speak in hyperbole, but this really was one of the key pivotal times in my entire journey, and something that God used in a way, still using. And I really feel empowered and equipped for this next chapter, because it goes into what the 5 areas, right? Who you're personally and relationally and physically, and then your work and spiritually, and then what contribution you want to make to the community. Mm-hmm. And what I loved about the exercises, and you know, when you told me the things that would be what we'd come out of it with, you know, your mission statement, all that. Oh my word, this is going to be exhausting. I'm going to die 1,000 deaths doing this. When in fact, the 20 instruments or exercises or things are designed in such a way that it's, while it might not be easy, it's very simple. And the answer is just kind of, right? You were able to facilitate with the grace and finesse to draw it out that seemed effortless. That when it came to, you know, really landing on life's purpose and calling, that for me it's to help people experience breakthrough and for them to live into their kingdom potential, which is extremely meaningful to me at this time. Arriving there seemed effortless, and you know, there you were with a big poster-sized, you know, sticky notes on the wall and the markers, graphing out and plotting my life and going back and revisiting history, and was calling destined who the people that have invested in your life, and as well as, you know, what are the low spots and all that kind of thing, and coming to terms with it. Man, just equipped this guy at the middle of the journey at 54 years old to find the courage to deal with some things that had left undealt with, and to make the decision to walk away from that which was I was not making my maximum kingdom potential. I wasn't living it myself, what I want to have people experience in their life. So, golly, if you're thinking about this, and you haven't decided yet, if the last few minutes could help, hear it from this guy. And I was the kind of person that everybody around me thought I had everything all tidied up and together and knew what I would be doing the rest of my life. I really didn't. And I found the tools to go into my toolbox, and the work that was done during the life plan to dismantle and rebuild and shape and sculpt who I think I truly have been called to be in Christ. And you know, it's the beautiful thing too is it's built on such solid scriptural universal kind of principles that it applies to somebody no matter where they are in their journey, in their faith journey or their spiritual formation or even their career or their age. I can see it. And I've already talked to my kids about making way where we can make sure they get this done in their life, and my spouse and my brother and then the clients that I serve. I'm already talking to them about, you need this in your life. And I'd love to become skilled to do it too, because it was that meaningful. There's no real language to express. I can describe what happened, but to describe how it happens in those 2 days, it's a combination of an earthquake and a still small voice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I recall day one, Tom, as you came in, that I wouldn't say you were depressed, but I could see kind of, you know, the pall that was kind of over you. You know, it was a burden on your soul, and at the end, just the relief that you had and that you showed.
I was not in a good place, and it's not overstating it, calling it depressed. And it was unbelievably liberating. And it wasn't liberating just in terms of some kind of psychological exercise or emotional back rub. It was, in some ways, it was like heart surgery. And in other ways, it was like being let out of jail. And since then, I have that ongoing sense of liberation and freedom and power that's been absent for quite a few years, for a long time. And some aspects, probably my entire life, now that I come to terms with things. So, yeah, if anybody wants to talk more, just give them my email. Happy to connect with them, because this is such a potent process that if you'll permit yourself to engage with it, has the capacity literally to change everything.
Wow. That's awesome. I appreciate you going through the process.
Oh, yeah.
Taking time out of your busy world.
I'm glad you got trained in the process and are sharing it with people.
I appreciate your time today. You know, as you talk, I'm reminded that as we live lives that aren't true to ourselves, that aren't true to who God made us to be, we are at dis-ease, and we live lives of disease.
Sure.
You know, and it's to live out who God has made us to be, living out our giftedness and our purpose, that we can live lives that really impact the kingdom and make a difference. And we are much happier doing it. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, I don't know if you could put this as a benefit to everyone, but I'm diabetic, and since October my A1C has dropped 1.9.
Wow.
Points. Yeah. So I'm happy about that.
The effects stress have.
Yeah, 7 to 5.1. So.
Wow. Well, that's awesome.
At least the last time. So. Yeah, that stress, that unnecessary junk. And the thing is, like, knowingly, yet being able to justify it. Just living not how God called me to. And not even, not like in sin, just so outside of my sweet spot. And then accepting that as my lot in life. Well, God is sovereign, but he also gives us responsibility, stewardship responsibility of our gifts and callings, our talents. And I think in many ways I was just burying those talents and satisfied to survive In some ways, I was, selling my birthright for a immediate gratification, but steady, stable, and the courage to act in the face of just the craziness. It's not the fear; it's the paralyzation that the fear produces, and the LifePlan process. To quote Shakespeare, helped me screw my courage to the sticking place. And I found a liberty and courage that I desperately needed to make some difficult but simple decisions that have changed pretty much everything.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
I made a career change. My lifestyle and health has improved. My wife says she has her husband back. And even my children have remarked. So not easy, but simple. Not effortless or painless, but profoundly good. So I can't say enough good about this. So you better shut this thing off, or I'm just going to go on and on and on and on.
We will stop here. But again, thanks for your time. If you're listening to this and have any questions, you can find a lot of information on my website, or if you want to connect with Tom, he is a coach and a speaker and author. You can get to his website, Tom Clegg, TomClegg.com.
Thanks.
You can drop him an email and get a hold of him there as well. Thanks.
You bet.